you ever have that one day where you look into the mirror and turn to the side to body check yourself, or maybe over-exercise, eat a bit too little, or something along those lines? Many people feel like they don't fit into their skin and want to do everything they can to achieve their dream figure. This ties into body image, how you perceive, think, and feel about your body, including size, weight, shape, or general appearance. But what causes people to feel negatively about how they look? Family, friends, social media, and societal pressures cause people to feel negatively about their body image. Targeted mainly towards women, society has so many standards for how someone's body should look. Thigh gaps, slim arms, no stomach fat, and a sharp jawline that can cut through glass. It's almost impossible for most people to achieve that figure, whether because of metabolism issues, genetics, activity, diet, or something else. According to the University of Michigan School of Medicine, nearly 2/3 of parents say that their child is insecure about some aspect of their appearance. As kids get older, they become more self-aware, are more likely to compare themselves to peers, and may be more influenced by media portrayals about beauty and the most desirable body shape, face, and look. Something like this happened to someone close to us as well. They chose to remain anonymous, but they wanted to share that as a kid, they were quite chubby but never noticed or seemed to care. They went about their day normally. They loved their looks, although their parents didn't really. As they grew older though, they started to notice a problem and ended up losing a significant amount of weight over the course of 7 months, which they later gained back in a somewhat healthier way. Even though that was the case, they would compare themselves with others, whether it's people around them or influencers on social media based on their body. They develop eating disorders and constantly body check themselves because of all the insecurity stemming from that, which leads to another main concept, body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia or body dysmorphic disorder is a psychological condition in which you can't stop thinking about the minute flaws in your appearance. This causes someone to constantly stand perpendicular or in whatever direction they prefer in front of a reflective surface and body check themselves, asking people if they look fine and speaking negatively about their appearance. Along with that, they succumb to the dark depths of social media and their lies regarding influencers and how they present themselves using different editing tools to enhance their appearances. So let's dive deeper into that. In this documentary, we explore our claim that different societal factors such as social media, stereotypes, and other factors negatively impact young people's body image. Our hope is for more people to be aware of society's impact on this issue so they can potentially support measures to regulate social media platforms and the spread of stereotypes and facilitate social welfare.
One of the biggest factors that influences body image, especially among our generation, is pretty obviously social media. There have been many studies showing this, including one set in the Cleveland Clinic, of teen girls that found the more time they spent using social media, the more likely they were to experience body dissatisfaction and even depression. You can pretty much guess that this can be clearly caused by things like unnatural beauty filters, photo editing tools, comparing yourself obsessively to only what others put online, and stuff like pro-eating disorder content in communities. Somewhat surprisingly though, even just regular selfies distort the way you actually look, with how the mirror image function, where selfies are backwards from the way you actually look, can confuse you into thinking that your face is exaggerated in size and symmetry. One study even found that selfies can distort facial proportions, making your nose look up to 30% larger than it actually is. I don't know about you, but I genuinely thought what I saw on my phone was what I actually look like, but even that's always just been a lie.
Although social media has elements that can harm your perception of your body, it can also help in many ways. There are notably a lot of plus-size fashion advocates on platforms such as TikTok and Instagram. These influencers have been trying to get people to love their bodies how they are, including through body positivity content. Out of the people who took our survey, we've noticed that around 93% of the respondents said they had seen content regarding body positivity. They seem to be aware of the brands that promote this concept to the fullest, and of action being taken to promote the idea, such as the airline industry giving seatbelt extenders to those who need them without judging them. Our respondents, at least most of them, also love that people are pushing for body positivity and awareness, since it's very much needed, although it can lead to hate comments from those, mean people.
Even while social media has body positivity content, social media platforms, while working as companies themselves, do continue to inherently facilitate content that causes negative body image, all due to societal reasons. Social media platforms can then be directly held responsible for much of this issue. Activists, lawmakers, and researchers have continually called for more regulation of addicting algorithms and censorship of harmful content amid shady business practices and mismanagement. Cities, schools, thousands of families, and state officials, including our Attorney General here in North Carolina, according to Axios, and even Congress, as reported by CNN, have even sued and rigorously questioned social media platforms in hearings due to their specific complicity in pushing body dysmorphia-related content. A few years ago, according to Verge and other outlets, a Facebook whistleblower even leaked to the public an internal secret study that showed that they fully knew about the harmful effects Instagram had on teenage girls' body image, even as they downplayed them. It was this huge scandal that was honestly crazy to read about. Generally though, why would a big company like Facebook hide these impacts, unless facilitating them benefited the company's bottom line? Overall, why does our society let companies get away with practices like this so they can make more money, even at the cost of our generation's mental health and well-being?
As a whole, social media continues to rise, but so does societal concern about the impacts on body image. Unfortunately, there are not many ways to censor what is seen on social media, and many times social media can put on a facade of showing the best version of people, when in reality, they may not look like that. As social media users, we aspire to become like these people, but sometimes fail to understand that maybe that lifestyle is not for us. We can also see this in our local community through the interview we conducted with Miss Haley, a counselor from Green Level who has worked in education for 19 years. Our interview provided information on how she directly saw the rise of social media increasing body image issues, with her stating, "Teen body image at the beginning of my career in education was something that you knew about, but there were not a lot of supporters that were openly known. Convincing teens that what they see and hear on social media is fake and doctored is a really hard concept to understand." As teens, we sometimes can't understand the complexity or the depth at which social media affects us, but research, especially from those in our own community with expert experience on this issue, can provide insight into how social media and its fads and trends can have negatively impacted body image. And just like Miss Haley told her little daughter who was worried about her weight, "You are perfect." A lot of time we see body images coming from the outside world. I mean, imagine this, we are constantly being exposed to different expectations, standards, and ways of the world. It can be a lot to take in at a time. If we simplify this scenario, we can see teenagers, for the most part, have two choices, either conforming to the status quo or breaking all the barriers and living their true selves. Unfortunately, most choose the first one, and it's not our fault. As humans, we are programmed to be wary of the unknown, and after all, it has helped us for years, but now it has become our downfall. We aspire to fit in, have the hot body, and be the it girl or it guy. But the reality is a far cry from this. We had the pleasure of sitting down with a couple of students from Green Level and discussing these ideas and stereotypes around body image with them.
And the last question, how have stereotypes impacted how you view yourself or your body?
I think this one really strikes a chord because, again, there's like a whole thing with like you have to look a certain way, you have to like be a certain body type, like especially for me, it's like I'm not the tallest person, as you know. I'm also not, like I feel like that's a thing, like oh I'm like short so I look kind of like I'm not taken as seriously. Or there's like also a whole thing with like weight as well, with like being insecure about your weight. Obviously like I'm not overweight, but I'm like looking at like other people, like you see them that like super lean, like muscles and everything, like oh why don't I have that? And like, you know, obviously so there's that. Obviously a lot of like sometimes you feel like you look at sometimes you like look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh my god, I look so good, and then you wear something else and it's like it's not. It doesn't really relate to me. So there's
Okay, our second one is, are there any gender stereotypes that you have seen or faced? That can be like general or just high school.
Yeah, like something similar before, like guys being a little bit more taller, being a little bit more built, some people feel like I'm pretty short and I'm pretty skinny for my like age, so I feel like that's just something I face right now.
Okay, and then lastly, how have stereotypes impacted how you view yourself or your body?
I feel like they made me feel like more negative about my body. I feel like sometimes like I can be a little more taller, like I'm a little more built, and it just feels like, you know, a lot of pressure to like come to things I can't do.
From these various interviews, it can be understood that body image is a huge part of our everyday life. By interviewing students our age, we understood how body image is impacted by differing standards and stereotypes. One recurring theme across all the interviews collected was the perception of others and how the status quo can negatively impact your body image. Sometimes the stereotype of looking smart, skinny, tall, and attractive can be extremely detrimental to mental health. Suddenly, we are so occupied with making sure that we play the part society wants us to play, or fitting into the mold, that we forget to realize that, hey, this actually doesn't feel that good. We spend so much of our time trying to eat healthier, lift more, and fit the ideal weight, look, or beauty standard that we lose our true selves in the process. We fail to understand that the incorrect stereotypes that are meant to be challenged and sometimes even broken. This goes back to what was said before, that most people choose to conform to stereotypes, but it is time to break this pattern. Stereotypes can come from all types of sources, even from when we least expect it. When thinking about body image, many people may not think about white supremacy and class stereotypes are influential factors, but the opposite stands true. Even if such issues seem completely unrelated, they can often influence teenage mentality, confidence, and body image. According to Teen Vogue magazine, beauty standards are the individual qualifications women are expected to meet in order to embody the feminine beauty ideal, and thus succeed personally and professionally. Of course, this does not just pertain to women. Men can also face challenges about how they look, as seen in our interviews. Centuries ago, the idea of optimal beauty came into place, and we're still basing our beauty standards on that of the Eurocentric stereotype. According to Amira Dawe, founder of the nonprofit organization The Beauty Well Project, told Teen Vogue, light features like blonde hair, blue eyes, and fair skin were believed to be the physical manifestations of the light of God. Starting around the 15th century, colonizers went to Africa, Asia, and Latin America and introduced the idea that whiteness is good, that nothing is better than white. It can be seen that stereotypes stem not only from preconceived notions or the desire to look like someone else, but also from the idea that fairest looks best. We sat down with Jenny, a student from Green Level, to speak about this very topic.
Like, colorism is something that's deeply rooted into, I think, Indian society, which is unfortunate. And it's not solely just Indian society. We see it in a lot of places. I think reinforce that. So, like, in India, there's this product called Fair and Lovely. So they only recently, I think maybe 1 or 2 years ago, rebranded to Glow and Lovely. But for nearly 40 or 50 years, the idea of Fair and Lovely, a skin whitening cream, just goes around. And this doesn't just apply to people like with a dark brown skin tone, it applies to people with a fair skin tone too. It's just like, keep getting fairer, that's what makes you pretty.
And it was endorsed by a lot of celebrities as well.
Exactly. Endorsed by celebrities, endorsed by the media. A lot of Indian movies I watched endorsed not the cream and the idea. Right? And to some extent, I think to a lot of today, it still exists. So for me, that was the first thing I was really conscious of, I think.
Overall, it can be understood that societal stereotypes and society can be detrimental to body image and how we perceive ourselves.
Some other potentially more unknown factors that can influence body image are academic stress and financial status. Many may not think of these things as factors that could affect body image since they're so unrelated to our appearance and our perception of it. How could something like how much you earn really affect what you see when you look in the mirror? But actually, it really can.
Would you say that the academic stress and other things like that can influence body image? With if there are already existing body image issues, it can.
So definitely, right? So it's not just academic stress, but it can be financial. It can be drugs and alcohol related. It can be boyfriend girlfriend related. Everyone has. This is why an individual care plan is the goal, because if you can't treat someone who's suicidal because their boyfriend broke up with them the same as someone who's suicidal because their body image is different. Because someone over here, they can't pay their bills and their home is going to be repossessed and their kids don't have any food to eat, right? So those are totally different social situations.
A source from the National Institutes of Health also confirms this idea, while specifically stating that when women are under stress, they might feel that they have no control over events in their lives. Since they're unable to control these events, they may turn to something over which they perceive they have absolute control, their bodies. When this attempt is unsuccessful, it leaves women feeling dissatisfied with their bodies as a result. It is also possible that women who experience higher levels of stress than normal may perceive their bodies more negatively as a result of their negative feelings about the stress. I hadn't personally considered things like school or socioeconomic status to be factors that could significantly affect body image, but they seem to be incredibly prevalent ones. I honestly can't think of an issue more societal than economic inequality, and who isn't touched by the perils of academic stress in our hyper-competitive generation created by the factory-like institutional school system? How could we, while balancing work like this documentary, not be stressed out about all our multiple-choice, memorization-based standardized tests? Our current school system, made to prepare us for a capitalistic workforce, can be incredibly stressful to deal with, even in privileged areas like ours. I can't imagine what it would even be like to handle things like school while balancing the desperately needed job to support your family. And to do it all, and even more, as an adult in a society with issues as stress-inducing as environmental disasters caused by the climate crisis, poverty, industry-wide layoffs, and worsening working conditions, I'd maybe understand having a wrecked self-image and self-esteem, too.
After researching the impact society has on the negative body image of people around us, we have realized that we don't think much about how so many societal factors could influence their image in such a big way. There are different perspectives displayed on social media, to say the least, and they've opinions that could cause the user's view of their body image to change if they choose to take hurtful comments to heart. But we didn't realize the sheer amount of social media content that could trigger how people perceive themselves. The amount of beauty filters used, the mirror image setting, and the photoshopping. These elements of social media, along with the body standards and stereotypes we come into contact with daily, the dream body, fair skin, and tall, are bound to make people fall into a body dysmorphia spiral, while already being distressed for other reasons. This involves individuals constantly obsessing over their appearance and how they should obtain the ideal figure, which is unattainable for most. But I will tell you this, seeing should never be believing. If you look into the mirror and believe that your body isn't perfect and you're not beautiful, yes you are. You can't let people get into your head and tell you things that aren't true because you're perfect the way you are. Society should not define your positive physical and mental qualities. Their opinions or any other factor do not define you. If you do ever struggle with your body image or anything related to that, do not be afraid to talk to a trusted adult. Reach out to someone you know, especially if they have experienced something similar and can correctly advise you.